Hello everybody and welcome to part 8 of Assaltya. In this part we're going to be doing a fair amount of transitioning. We got military over here, we need to march over to Shaka, and some corrections that go with that. That's better. I always try to savor these moments because I don't actually build wonders all that often, and I know how significant of one this one is. And we get engineering. So there is a lot going on here. Let's try not to miss it all. First, I want to make sure we keep track of not Petra and Petra. So, whoops. I was just saying, got a lot to try and keep track of this turn, so I just want to make sure we get all of it. Petra is built, so tile yields change. Looks like this is just a strictly better version of that tile. We can include this into our border since the capital's not going to be using it. More on that in a minute, but engineering is finished and we have one turn of growth here. So I want to buy the aqueduct and move that over there. Yeah, we're going to have a worker working on this, and we got that to grow too, so capital's not going to need this tile for a while. We might use it for the other city. I also see this is orange, so I don't want to pass that up, because although our gold is good, we just bought an aqueduct, and I have other ideas for money usage. New unit from Hanoi. There we go. There's an African forest elephant. This actually makes what I was going to do a little easier, I think. Oops. Yeah, so I mentioned transition. This guy was coming up or is going to be coming up. I don't know if that was our plan before, but he's going to take over here. What got me thinking as far as the transition goes is that we're currently marching ranged and siege towards Shaka, but no melee, and that's a big problem. It occurred to me we can probably have the ranged, like caterpillar along this coast and pelt any boats we see, because we have seen that Shaka has boats. There's one now. And of course the siege want to come in afterwards. So I do think it was a mistake to be marching this guy up here. I think the reasoning for it was sound. However, that's just having somebody to bat away barbarians to rack up culture. That's something we can build from behind. Our improved units, and especially our currently highest melee, should be going over there. So we'll have him start marching that direction. He's a little late, but that's fine. I want this guy coming up here to relieve him because he has cover. Also, this guy here has double cover. And we also have this guy here who has cover. And the cover ones are going to be especially important because we don't know if Shaka has impies or if he'll get them as we march over there, but we want to be as prepared as possible. So we're going to be putting forth a good amount of effort into relieving those three from their posts. And this African war elephant certainly helps with that. We're also going to make sure that we relieve the African war elephant. He moves faster, obviously, so that's why I'm willing to have him be part of the initial wave of relief. But we definitely want to bring him to the forefront, because if I understand their buff correctly, they have a buff that basically, say I'm standing here, all enemy units next to them are just a flat minus 10% combat strength. So they basically make everybody around them weak. We would definitely like that over here as we're attacking Shaka's army on his way to his city. Speaking of his city, there was something I failed to comment on in the last part. When we first discovered him, I was just like, oh, he's near us and he's got luxuries we already have, no big deal. I failed to notice that he has 8 iron just in Ulundi, so by capturing this city we will double the amount of iron we have access to, so that's pretty huge. I see we have a couple of workers finishing here. This is post civil service, so that's +2 food. Nice. And likewise, that's +2 food. Okay. And he's going to get started on repairing this cattle tile. I forgot to check to make sure nobody was over there first, but we've had the honor opener long enough that with the exception of this camp here that's been left unchecked for a few turns, we kind of know what's going on. All right. So generally speaking, we want machinery and we want steel. Both of them makes the respective units 50% stronger. I do like Machinery's road buff, but let's try to ignore that for the moment and try to figure out which is the better unit upgrade. We do have more melee in general, and I want to quote or cite our impending war here to help understand why I'm making the decision I am. It's going to be a long trek. We're not planting another city down, so we need our blockers to be able to tank and heal up as much as possible down here. If we had stronger melee, that would be not a problem. Now I realize that we're talking 20 turns away, so this probably isn't going to matter, at least not for capturing Yulande. Maybe once we capture Yulande, we can upgrade everybody. But that's kind of the point. We want to get to these guys as fast as possible, and then we can go there. Also of note is that when you compare the two techs that we have to take to get to those 2 points, right now metal casting represents things that are more desirable than what we could get from here. The only downside to going metal casting first, it has to do with the availability of warriors. I'm going to come into the city here and give you a quick explanation of what I mean. You can see here that archer is not an option. That's because we have construction and we can build composite bowmen. Same thing with spearmen. We can't build spearmen because we have civil service, so now it's pikemen. Swordsmen, on the other hand, even though we have iron working, we can still build warriors, and I think that might be because they're connected to iron. But I have been able to determine in my own testing that it's when you complete metal casting that warriors are taken off the table. And if you're in the process of building one, that means you just lose those hammers. I don't know if you get refunded gold like you do with the Wonder. So we do have to be mindful of that. We now have a 7-turn window to building warriors, and that actually matters because I was just talking about how we're going to relieve some of our human monuments. Alright, lots and lots of chatter. I wanted to make sure I explained all of that. It says National Epic is finished, but that was because we had another city, but it has burned down, so now we can actually properly finish that. And now it's time for the big reveal. Petra is done here, and that has turned us into a super city. The city was already doing great in terms of food and hammers. Now it is more so. We bought the sheep tile just because with Petra this is amazing. We've added a food and a hammer here and here, which were tiles we were already wanting to. And then also the stone is now actually a worthwhile tile. You know, we're going to develop it, but it'll be right on par with, say, this horse tile. So this will be a super city. We could build wonders with this city. But more importantly, I want to treat it like our new capital. We do have a capital, but it got slowed down because we populated the guild when we did. We didn't want to populate the guild here because a lot of these tiles are special tiles, so it's not like just a regular old river farm where half a dozen for a dime kind of thing. So we didn't want to work the guild here, but I do think I want to build the National College here. We could go for Oracle, but I want to get the National Wonder out of the way, not only because our science is starting to slow down, but also our tech needs are, you know, longer, I should say. But also because until this is finished, we can't really annex Seoul unless it builds a royal library of its own. So let's get that rolling. And you guys can let me know what you think about that. Budapest is our friend for another couple turns, so we can use his borders for our migration here. Just going to try and get everybody moving. No, okay. I was going to say I suppose I could have moved them here, but then we would have had competition. Well, I guess they're competing for that tile here too, so 6 one, half dozen the other. What are you going to do? Okay, we are no longer sending a food caravan here, so our turn between growth is, you know, greatly extended, which is actually fine. We don't really have a lot of production options in this city, so we don't necessarily need it to grow fast. It's nice that it's growing because it stayed stagnant so long, but yeah. So we just finished this camp over here. We're going to come down to this camp over there. Let me grab a sip of my tea. Been chatting a lot. Okay, down here there was a archer here, and we got out of his way, but now we want to go back. So 1, 2, 3. Oh, okay. Now we know the source. Looks like coast here. This might be the end of the line here. But the horse should actually be able to clean all this up by himself. Yeah, it does look like the end of the line here. Interesting to know. That means Shaka might have very little in terms of options of where to go. We're going to continue pre-building this road. And that looks like all the decisions for this turn. So let's go ahead and pass that turn. This was coming. I don't think it has anything to do with Shaka denouncing us. We did wipe out 2 separate civs in his presence. So that makes sense. Okay, policy time. Now, this is a huge fork in the road for me, actually since the beginning of this series. I mentioned how in preparation for this series I played a game, Straight Liberty, one Straight Honor, and one with this mixed open, and I liked this mixed open. This was a bit of a tough call. And I should have mentioned when I made peace with Byblos that I mentioned that we had enough workers and we're probably going to get more from Korea. Another thing I failed to mention at the time is we always have the option of picking up another worker as well as making all the workers more effective. We're doing fine on workers at this moment, and because we're going to continue to war, we might pick up more. So I'm not in a rush to get this. This one was recommended by Carl's guide, doing like we did, come through here, and then finish up the Liberty Tree. Part of my trepidation is, yes, we have a lot of gold, but I do have plans for that, and that's part of the reason why I'm going to take this policy. But also the faster building of XP buildings has never really struck me as all that useful. Now, this might be my limited military knowledge talking here, but in my experience, it really only matters once you start getting into planes. But then again, I've never played multiplayer, and I'm not really all that dedicated to war, although as time goes on, I get more and more dabbly with it. But I do think this is going to be the way to go, simply because our gold is kind of spoken for, and this will be a good amount of savings over time. I do like that our culture is such that our transition from one policy to the next is somewhat expedient. Okay, a Sir grows. We'll work this tile as this one gets developed. Wow, even with the aqueduct, 13 turns. Whew. Those in grasp on Budapest don't much care. Venice has denounced you. We'll finish this repair, and then production time. National Epic is online. That helps with culture here, and will help get the writers going a little bit quicker, which also helps with culture. Okay, so right now we're in a phase where we want to alleviate some of our or relieve some of our human monuments from their posts. The window for building warriors is closing. We have 7 total right now, but we also have 8 of our own iron. 2 is sold off, 1's being imported. That's why we have 7, even though 2 are being sold off. So we could go up to 8 under our own power, but like I mentioned down here, we're going to inherit 8 more. So what I want to do, just to keep things on the quick, is actually build a warrior. It looks like it's only going to take 2 turns, so I'll tell you what, I'm going to leave this prompt here. We'll go get to that last, and I'll explain why when we get there. Makes lots of sense, I promise. Alright, so as for this worker, we got 2 workers here. All the tiles we care about are online. So next we would either want to build a lumber mill here or get started on the road. It's going to be 7 tiles of road, and we are going to be 7 pop soon enough. Sejong has already pre-built the stone road for us completely, so what I'm going to do is have this guy come over here, and now this guy can come over onto the hill, fully build, come here, finish, and then just start picking up whatever this guy's dropping. We'll go from there. Alright, so this guy's in our way. That's unfortunate. So these guys are going to have their own little traffic jam, and it doesn't appear to be going away anytime soon, which is unfortunate, but what are you going to do? Okay, these guys are continuing. What we're looking for, this camp has been here, so it's almost certainly thrown something off. Could be water, could be land that's already come down here, could be hanging out. That's what we're waiting to see. Okay, this is projecting 100, so we can try. Bam, there's some culture. I think it's funny that at this point that's 1/5 of a turn of our culture. So we have to kill lots of barbarians just to make do. But hey, look at that, it only takes 1 point of movement, so we'll go 2, 3, 4. Gets us some coastal visibility. This is the end of the line over here. It's just waiting to see what's down here. This would be a good place to heal up. This camp is in the jungle, and of course they're fortified, so I don't think we're going to get away with a one-shot here. Probably too, but let's heal up so that is a safer endeavor. Okay, he's going to come here to do the roads up. I'm not even going to bother interrupting because now he's ready for the final push of road tiles. 5 turns till growth. Let's get this farm going. Scout is going to cling to the coast to get as many eyes as we can. Alright, so we're done with all the decisions for this turn except for this. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to choose warrior, I'm going to highlight this warrior, and then I'm going to pass because we have royal libraries and we already have a great work in play. We have that great work stationed in Nimrod to help with its border growth, but now we need it in Assur. And I'm being absolutely ridiculous in the min-maxing here, but if you've got the attention for it, why not? So just make sure we put it in the royal library rather than other slots, and now when this guy comes out, we'll be prompted for his promotion. Okay, also Nineveh is down to 1 turn for growth, so I want to buy an aqueduct here. We have 3 tiles to populate, and when we finish with workshops, I also want to buy a workshop here to slam home the National College and amplify all the hammers that we have. And if we could work the workshop specialist slot, we'll double our great engineer points, or maybe even more so than double, right? Doesn't it provide 2? Yeah, it's, oh, 3, so we'll quadruple. Nice. But this is the city we're already getting engineer points, so this would be a good one to do it. When I play Liberty, I try to do it in the capital just because it tends to have a jump on everything, but hey, this is the new capital. So you guys can let me know what you think about all of that. Okay, so the horse, in terms of war, is going to be used to scout the borders, pick up civilians, snipe trade routes, and pillage tiles on the ground for gold and to cripple the enemy. So one thing to keep in mind is they do not enjoy defense terrain bonuses. So these are how they stay alive as far as like resistance, bombards and such. So it could go either way because we're just as naked on hills as we are on flatland. I think I want to go rough. Partially because our military is largely slanted towards flatlands as it is, but also because our most immediate needs require rough, and that's as good a reason as any if you ask me. Okay, so 1 turn to growth. Did I buy the... okay, I was afraid I was going to miss that. Okay, whoops. This is our best melee as far as promotions, so let's have him start heading down. He becomes the human monument. This guy is now free to start coming over. We'll have him man it in the meantime, but he's coming over. And then these guys are going to go ahead and continue their march to Shaka. Looks like we're going to have a bit of a traffic jam at the river, but we'll sort through it. Yep, boats. Gotta kill them boats. Hey, let's move down here. And now we can see all the land tiles down here, unless they threw one off and went to Biblo. So either they haven't, it's down here, or it's water. Either way, these guys should be good to go. He's just in the process of healing, and he is pre-building. Okay, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So I'll tell you what, let's pre-repair here. That way we can hop, and then, because moving onto the hill consumes all of our movement points anyways, so moving along. If you guys hear any slamming in the background, my best friend's over using the gym. Her deadlifts are actually higher than ever before. She's had a kidney transplant, used to have cancer, pretty short, a woman. Like, she's kicking a whole lot of butt, and it's all because she's applying it, so shout out to her. Let's see, we're looking at 9 and 10 here. If we switch to this, it's 7 and 11. We might be able to speed this up a little, because keep in mind we're laying down a food on the sheep here. And of course, once we do grow, we'll pick up free hammers right then and there, and every turn thereafter. So this probably will be more like 10 anyways. And if not, the growth is science, and that's why we're building the National College. So, hey, look at this. Okay, so now that he's coming out and being prompted for a buff, let's go ahead and move this back to Nimrod, because Nimrod does need the help. This worker is almost done with the farm, and if we could get one of these river tiles, that would be fantastic. So I'm going to try and leave this prompt till the very end so that we can be reminded to move the great work back next turn. Okay, so this guy is going to leave the nest, and it's a question of do we come relieve him or do we come relieve him. Since the warriors are only taking us 2 turns to build, the second one can come relieve him, And that 2-turn delay and this guy moving 3 turns per, I think we should probably go relieve the war elephant or forest elephant first. From here we get to there in 2 turns anyways, so might as well protect the worker. It doesn't matter, but you know, best practice is, you know, how I like those kinds of things. No longer friends with Budapest, don't care. Work, build, we're going to build a warrior there. Alright, so we're just about ready for that. He's coming over. Pre-build. This is so distracting, the fact that it's animated. Alright, we're coming back to you. Done 1, 2 boats. Yeah. There was a boat up here earlier too. There he is. Yeah. That's actually unfortunate because he might actually pillage our stuff, and there's very little we can do about it. And unfortunately we can't really annex Seoul yet because that would wreck our national wonder there. Let's see here. He has double promotion. This guy has single. So let's cross the river like that. He can still make it. We'll have this guy stick with the front runner to help keep track of which one's which. We might as well just have him sit in place and heal, because he can cross the river here next turn, hold that hex for him the turn after. Alrighty, let's take a look here. Okay, horseman. Not seeing any bar boats out there. Shoot him down. Alright, he's healing. He's just sitting tight for a second. Oh, and then after we're done with this camp, we can have this guy come down too. I was reminded of it because I noticed how nice and juicy this guy is. It would be nicer to have him, but we do need somebody here. And who knows, maybe the fact that he's juicier means he hits the boats harder. So these guys are basically human monuments, so they're going to be in our homeland, which is primarily flat right now. So let's keep going with this, and we'll do that. And now we need to remember, as we pass the turn, to move the great work back once again. Yes, I do take min-maxing to ridiculous lengths, but that's one thing I enjoy about this game, is all the different decisions you can make. It's daunting when you forget, but it feels real good when you're able to pull off little tricks like this successfully. Because we need this border to grow. And it's not fast enough. Alright, so this guy's ready to go. 6. Alright, does not speed that up. That's fine. That's fine. May purchase with faith. We want a missionary in this city. It's our only city of the religion we want to spread. It will spread it to here. I mentioned last episode why we don't want to lose Earth Mother here. And Hanoi also wants it, so that'll be our 2 charges. That has been addressed. Spearman thrown off. Okay. Well, this does look like the end of the line, so if we don't actually draw him out this way, he might come down here and actually be a bigger problem. So let's use his turn to heal up, and then we can just kind of run away wide or something like that. Slam into the archer on the farm. Bam, bam, or bam, bam. This is more direct to Shaka, so let's do that. Okay, this is where things get a little sticky, huh? Those 2 move together so that we can keep track of which of the combos are better promoted. Let's go like that. Alright, one more turn, buddy. One more turn. Since these roads are being finished 1 tile at a time, I think it might be better to come here. We already have engineering, so they do flow together well across the rivers that we have to contend with. Alright, so we'll have him come up here. It looks like this tile was actually made for an outpost to be shoot at boats. So there's that. He comes over here. We will come down to this hill. He has better visibility. We are seeing spearmen, not impies. And better, he is hurting in the gold department. There was a window last episode, I think, where it showed that he wanted another one of our horses, and we failed to take it. But it's nice, because that means lack of gold means even if he does get civil service, he can't upgrade them. Since he's heading down to Shaka, let's do that. Probably should have tested to see if I needed the flank buff, but I just assumed we wouldn't. So that was a third of a turn. I just think it's funny that... okay, so we'll highlight this guy so that we know we got to move our great work back. And there we go. So let's do that. To Nimrod. Get those borders growing quicker. Okie dokie. So let's see here. New guy. We don't need more prompts. So I'll tell you what. Let's have him come down to cross the river next turn to relieve. Whoops. Flatland. Relieve this guy so he can come relieve this guy. Or better yet, he can relieve this guy because 1, 2, 3, 4, he'll land exactly on that tile, and then he can relieve him the following turn is what I meant to say. So that means he alerts. We come down here to spread the religion. Our gold per turn goes from 9 to 10 because we have tithe, and of course that just gets bigger in time. He's finished here. Let's take a quick look here. 6 gold food per turn, 3 turns, so adding 3 is not going to cut that down to 1. And I know going from 3 to 1 might sound ridiculous, but once you first get civil service, you will encounter scenarios like that. So it's worth looking into just in case. Here's a good example. Before we move our tile, let's decide what we would build next. We're currently sending 3 melee down to Shaka. 1, 2... 3, 4. Okay, I feel better about that. But maybe having one, because okay, let me consolidate my thoughts here. Thus far, the resistance has been relatively weak. Here, you know, on to Korea. The resistance has been relatively weak, so we've been able to get away with a few amount of shooters and melee. The problem down here is not just that he can be scary with impies, which hopefully I've already proven we don't have to contend with, but the big thing is the long trek we have. We're going to either lose units or have to effectively lose units by withdrawing them to heal up. So coming down here with extra units is a good idea anyways, and then if nothing else, having another melee just to act as a human monument down there makes sense too. I was talking about building a 3rd siege tower, wasn't I? This might be that time. It's actually quicker than a pikeman. So let's do that. Yeah, let's do that. And now we're looking at 9 and 5. Let's see if this changes anything. 8 and 5. Since it doesn't change this, let's roll with it. If it would, we would have. After that, I'll probably build a comp bow to offset the fact that this guy's heading to war. And it looks like this will be the cleanest route. He's going to want to come back to heal up. We have no other camps to chase at this time. Who else needs a construction project? This guy. All right. Market's online. It's maintenance free. Good deal. It's worth noting that the city still has watermill and aqueduct as far as growth potential. However, we do have 2 cities that are already growing pretty quick now with civil service, and this one's going to continue to steady grow. In fact, it could be said to accelerate when you consider that each citizen only consumes 2 food, and we're going to keep putting them on 3 food tiles. But at the same time, the cost per citizen goes up. So maybe they cancel each other out. I don't know. But I definitely think Coliseum's the way to go. We need to start addressing our happiness. Because we're probably going to take these cities in rapid succession. So it's a good thing to ramp that up now. Alright, 1, 2, 3, 4. That's as far as we get to go. Unfortunately, he can still see us. So here, maybe he comes. 1, 2, 3, 4. Now we can't be seen. 1, 2, 3, 4. Assuming this is flat. It's a bit roundabout, but it's also kind of necessary. Alright, this guy's free to head on down. When I'm counting up everything we're sending at Shaka, I failed to take that into account, so that's a little bonus there. He's parked there. He's still coming down. Pre-build road. Fully build road. Alert. Okay, now the hard part. Alright, so we want these guys to inchworm down. So I'll tell you what, let's take this turn to tell Shaka off. This is a formality for best practices purposes. Obviously our diplomacy's in the tank. There's no getting around that. We gotta get him out of here so that he can come there. And let's see, he comes here. Can have the spearman come here. Maybe we have the spearman go around him so that he can fully heal. Let's see. The stone tile is a good thing to develop yet. Next, we're not going to work it right away, but getting it developed up would be nice. Lots of boats. That's actually pretty good because his military score when we met him was nothing to sneeze at. It looks like we've been growing the gap ever since, but know that a good chunk of this, because I think we've seen like 4 boats in here total, and then plus the one up north, so a lot of boats in that mix. Alright, so there we go. We are at the half-hour mark, so I'm going to end it here. I realize it wasn't the most interesting part, but at least we got to kick it off with the completion of Petra. And I want to make sure that we are moving all of our units well, so I'd like to be able to take a step back and reflect with fresh eyes. Plus, it's been kind of a rotten day for me, and I don't want that to pour into our game decisions here. Thank you guys for joining me. I do hope you're enjoying the series this far. Please leave me a like and subscribe if you feel that I've earned it, and I will see you in the next part. Take care.